Hi guys, this is the first episode of Reconnect, a new experiment that Myrna, Angela, and I are running to discuss the future of work, how professionals, how businesses can adapt in a post-pandemic world and use these new technologies, use the metaverse to be more effective, achieve new levels of performance. So just to go straight and get started, Angela, Myrna, how is it to be here in this space?
Well, I mean, Igor, to be very honest, when I listen here in this space, I feel exactly like that. I feel here, I feel present, which is amazing because for someone like me who loves to be with people, who loves to work with people, who has built teams, this is an amazing feeling that we feel as if we are really building something, either a project or having a conversation in which we are with people together, very different from what we have, I mean, right now, which is available for us when we are far from each other, which is a Zoom or any other kind of platform. So here we have the physical feeling of presence, and also the emotion attached to that. I can see you very clearly. I can see your gestures, and as well as with Angela. So it's a very, very pleasant experience, I have to admit. Very, very nice. I'm really happily surprised with that. I don't know about Angela, but it's amazing.
Oh, that's exactly the feeling that I have, that we are here. This feeling of presence is really impressive. For me, is the most impressive thing about being in the metaverse, let's say like this. And one of the things that made us think about the name of the project as Reconnect was exactly like this, because of this. Because when we think about being online or being able to reach people over any kind of device over the internet, you can say that you are connected, but instead of this, I don't feel this way. I just feel that I can reach the person, but I'm not connected to it.
Right.
Yeah. And when I entered this space the first time, it was exactly how I felt. That I'm connected to both of you. I'm totally present here, and I can also say that most of the times I feel more connected here than when I'm talking to someone in a meeting in presence, but I'm thinking about something else, or I have my cell phone with me, because here I cannot have anything else than both of you and the space. And the space is amazing because you really feel the whole space, the room. You feel that you are in a real space.
And that's a great segue for us to talk. And this is something that I think many of you listening to this will somehow connect, which is, how was the world before the pandemic? We are recording this in early 2022. So how was the world before the pandemic in the big corporations, the level of burnout of professionals? And exactly what you mentioned, Angela, were people present? What was going on?
Well, from my perspective, from my own experience, we definitely had so many cases of burnout before. People were simply collapsing many times because they were not able to cope with the tasks, and also the business culture was quite dull. And many times I heard from people that also felt the same. We were working in silos, meaning people did not have an idea what other teams were doing. So this creates a less feeling of belonging. So I think this is a big problem. And also in the sense of feeling of engagement, I think that it was really not really ideal. And the purpose of what I'm doing, it was really not so much present. Maybe that's why nowadays we have this great resignation going on, where people are really leaving their jobs, sometimes not because they have another offer, because they just said, I need to do what I really love. And I feel that the company where I'm going to work has also aligned values with that. Allow me to have more freedom, maybe, or allow to use my creativity. So I think that before it was much more of a task-oriented culture. And maybe now we are realizing this might be something to be revisited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also think that nowadays, before the pandemic, we had this collapse even worse because we had to cope with things that we were not expecting.
Yes.
When I was there working this way, I already knew how things were working, and suddenly, like overnight, I needed to cope with other things and trying to understand how the work was going to happen. And in the meantime, I needed to cope with all the anxiety of being at home and taking care of my family, and also with the idea that we could be all dead. We need to face this as well. So it was too much. So people couldn't cope with this, and then I think suddenly people said, "Yeah, I need to feel something about what I'm doing. I cannot just keep going and going and going nowhere." So the idea of being connected with people, I think it is what makes us keep going, and this feeling that we belong. And it's not because we are there in a desk and there are some people surrounding us that we feel this belonging, you know?
Yeah. And I totally see it. And also this perception that somehow the job and work and life was kind of a separate thing. Well, when we faced the pandemic and everybody had to just join, it merged. No, as you said, Angela, I'll ask you to be a little bit outside of the table because otherwise it looks like you are on the table. Yes, perfect, better. It happens, and this notion that somehow we don't actually have a professional life, a personal life. It's all blended, but we have to find some balance. And then jump into the second point that I think we would also touch in this episode was how has been this transition, and how instead of making things better, it kind of boosted part of the worst. Not that everything was bad, but these feelings of not belonging, this burnout, this task orientation, it kind of boosted in the digital world. No, but it's kind of like, now that I don't see you face to face anymore, so I can ask you to do anything, or it goes wild. Do you feel that happening? How is that impacting the work-life balance somehow?
Well, if I may start, I think that, and this is my personal, experience, but also my personal view on that. I think that in many cases, people were not known as a whole. People were known as somebody who was working there and having a role and a function and of course performing a task. And the moment that we had this new era where we had to be at home, and then we were connected with our families and our basic desires and wishes, we would like to be considered as a whole. And then suddenly many leaders were unable to tap that kind of area of ourselves. And then it was clear that they were unable to really maneuver it properly. They felt incompetent, they felt powerless, and which was definitely the case. That's why things, instead of getting better, they got a bit worse. Because this problem was clear to everyone. I don't know my employee. I know them. I know him or her as a performer, but I don't know more than that. And that was something that created this big clash and made, of course, the cases of burnout worse, and also this lack of limitation. Okay, when can I start working? When should I finish work? Does my leader know that? Do I have enough support? I don't think this was the case.
Yeah, definitely. And I also see, as you said, there's good things about what happened as well.
Yes.
When we think about companies that already had a culture that permitted like innovation and were more
Right.
flexible, and all these things were already there as a culture, and it was easier to
Right.
make this transition.
Right.
Because they were already seeing that the most value that a company has is people, and
Yes.
that's why we need to treat them also as a customer. Like, how should I treat my employee? I
Right.
need to see them as my best value, because without them, I have nothing. I can have lots of products or whatever I'm trying to
beautiful
sell.
offices or a beautiful
Yes.
building, but so what? No.
So what? Yeah.
So what? And absolutely, and it was clear that the organizations that had a more entrepreneurial, innovative mindset, they thrived during digital. Their performance achieved, but that was the minority of the organizations, because very few organizations, and prior to that, prior to COVID, a lot of organizations will try to catch up with startups and innovation and a lot of accelerators. But in most cases, unfortunately, it was just for the picture. It was not driving through innovation. And through innovations, just let people do their best job at their best performance within boundaries, of course, because boundaries are important, because we now go towards something, but achieving something together. But the disaster that in some companies happened was because people really couldn't connect anymore. They just couldn't connect. Okay, I have a job, I have this pandemic, I have it, but then what does that mean? Besides the job itself, but that doesn't mean work couldn't be done. And that's, I think, I would like to talk to you about it, the difference of work and a job, because I think a lot of, especially the young folks now that they feel disengaged, they have a lot to offer. That's what I feel. They have a lot they want to work, but not necessarily they want to have a job, or a job the way that maybe the three of us had or have up to now. How do you feel that? How to really engage? Will that require new leadership style? Will that require new leaders? We just see the change in a few years from now, because then we can even talk about the virtual reality that we are just right now. I mean, why not things like this in the workspace? But let's go back to a bit about this leadership style. How do you feel that happen?
Well, I think that, talking about leadership style, and I know, and we know so many leaders who are more, let's say, past oriented, in the sense of the way that they would like to deal with things. If things had worked so far like that, we should keep like this. And we know that when something comes out of a blue or out of a sudden, like COVID, in which it had speed up many changes, we need leaders who are able and willing to face change and to welcome change. Okay, first and foremost, welcome change as a mindset, as a kind of way to look at things. I think this is quite clear. Not many were there already. So this is something which is very difficult. Another point that I was touching before is your way to command might be controlling. And nowadays it's much more engaging people, earning their respect, and also inspiring them. Okay, if I inspire someone, they will do wonders, right? And this is something that maybe might be lacking also now, this kind of past focused leadership, but also more controlling, which is damaging now. I think people don't want to be controlled now. They would like to be inspired and learn how to do things in a different way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was also thinking while you were saying that we need leaders that can also see because we don't have only leaders that think in the past. Yeah, we have lots of employees that also see their life as, I had a job, I need to go there and do my task. in a daily
They feel
basis.
disrupted as employees too, right?
Yeah, so we need leaders that are able to see this and help them to disrupt it as well. So I don't think it's of course a easy task, but I think we can do this. The thing is that it was already happening. If we think about the last 3-4 years, the companies were starting to think about all this digital transformation and how it should be and how the work should be in the next 20 years. But the pandemic just speed up everything, and we needed to do this in like 1 year, in some cases over the night. But in this, we really needed to make this transition, and I cannot see it back. It's from now on. We need to think from now on and not thinking about, I want my life back or things like this. And I totally agree when you say it's not about jobs anymore and not only about tasks. It's what's the work that needs to be done here, and how can I do this? And building a team that can be fully integrated, and I can do something, you can do other thing, and Myrna another thing, and together as a team we can make this work.
No, and there are so many examples in the world already happening. I'm fascinated by space, and recently the James Webb Telescope was launched, and the idea is that this telescope is going to see the deep field and maybe get to the Big Bang. And the project was a $10 billion project made by 10,000 people spread all over the world. It was a totally decentralized work, organized by NASA, by the ESA, by the Canadian Space Agency, but essentially work was done by people spread across the entire planet. And I think a lot of companies already work like this. A lot of multinationals are already global. But when you think about the work of global teams, this sense of being actually in the same room, working remotely in a decentralized way, sometimes just doesn't click. And with technology, I feel that it was a booster, was like a speed up a lot this process of the ones who were already engaged. They got super engaged, and performance went through the roof. But the ones who were not engaged, they were just burned out at the highest level possible because they felt controlled. And then just my point, control is the key to avoid when you really want decentralized teams to perform. And if you try to be a controller of a situation in a decentralized team using technology, that's a total disaster.
And I like that you said that, because that's how I see one of the things that made all these people just quit their jobs, because when they got home and they needed to do in another way, they just realized that control doesn't make them feel good, or it doesn't make
improve
their
performance.
job being better.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I don't want to be in an environment that it's just controlling if I'm here or if I'm 8 hours a day in front of my computer. I just need the job
because
done.
that type of thing. I think we're reading the a recent Economist paper about it, and how people just work to perform. But not to perform in terms of work, but to be like an actress or an actor, not just from a boss. And if you lower this requirement, you just have your work to do. You just have your talent, no? And just going kind of summarizing a bit, I think we can explore this in other episodes. But looking forward, how do you see things like this, like virtual reality, technologies, kind of creating a new environment for work, or creating a new environment for collaboration, or not just VR. I mean, we happen to be in a VR space, but we use Slack too. We use other technology. But how this metaverse mindset can be adopted for the better?
I think personally, the moment that you are someone, if you are a people-oriented person, if you are eager to learn and to thrive and to get together with people, you're gonna be welcoming anything that can bring you together. Okay, so and this is an extremely, I am really amazed on what we can do in such environment.
Yes.
I think I mentioned to you some time ago. I mean, I know people in many places, in many countries. I would love to have them all together and work together
Right.
in any kind of. So that now it's feasible. So I think that we can use our creativity to think, how can I use this kind of setup for the good, for creating ideas, brainstorming, doing. Projects, thinking about new things without any limitations or parameters who were not helping us in the physical world. Maybe here we have less of restraints. Maybe it's a question, right? So we can explore that. So let's be again like children. Why children are so open to everything, and why they really learn so fastly, because they are open. So let's be open for that. So I'm definitely optimistic about that, and I think we can create wonders. Having people all over the world who have common purposes and common goals. So I'm optimistic.
Amen to that. Yes.
Yeah, it was really great. Well said. And I also think being more specific about what we are experiencing here, because one of the critics that we have about working remotely is that we cannot feel together in some aspects. So it's good for jobs that doesn't require much interaction between people.
Like innovation. I heard that. No, if people are not in the same room, they cannot innovate. They cannot create a new product. We are just creating a new product here.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
and when and you say this a lot, and I really agree with that. That it's not something crazy or very innovative. It's just a next step about internet.
Yes.
It's just that we have now the devices and the whole infrastructure that allows us to be here in a 3D environment, let's say like this. And when we build something like this, we can definitely go for all this innovative and building teams and being closer. And at the same time, we don't need to be online all the time. So we can use things like Slack, as you mentioned. Like I don't feel the necessity to be controlling if my partner in that program is there the whole time. So I can do my job quietly as I like. Or if I need to be more with someone, I can just invite them and, let's be together this 5 minutes, or it can be much more productive.
But it's going to be super engaging. These 5-10 minutes are going to be great. These are going to be an experience really to connect in another level. And then we use that other time to do other stuff and and engage with other aspects of our own lives. Because, and I think you mentioned that, Myrna, very well too, that we're not just this or that. You play music, you paint, you cook, you do other stuff in your life. You do nothing. But welcome this in a natural way. I think just technology can allow. Because if you just think that work can be done in a 9-to-5 rigid schedule in an office that happens in a specific place, I think the 21st century is not going to be about it. I think it's going to be more about this type of city, not necessarily this city, but engaging another way.
Sure.
Let's wrap up here and maybe explore other topics in the next episode.
For sure. Yes.
I think if you're here, whatever you're listening or seeing this, please drop your comments below in the comments. Just send us suggestions of things that we should cover, people that we could bring also to our conversation. So we are super open for you to comment.
Definitely.
Perfect. Thank
Okay?
you so much.
So
Yes.
let's stay here until the next episode. See you.